As it says, it's showtime. Hello, everyone. I am Natasha Tomlinson here in Arizona, and welcome to tonight's webinar. Let's just give it, about 30 seconds, 60 seconds for folks to come in. I understand that life gets busy, and, we just want to make sure that everyone is in the right place. So let's just give it a moment or two. In the meantime, I would appreciate it if you would let me know where you are listening from this evening. Are you here in Arizona? And if so, are you in Surprise? Are you in Buckeye? Are you in Phoenix, Apache Junction, right? Santan Valley? Are you in Tucson? Where are you listening from? I'd love to know. Feel free to leave that in the chat. And I am manning this solo tonight, so please bear with me. And any questions you have, I do ask that you hold those until the end. We will certainly get to them. So, time is precious. Your time is valuable. I certainly understand that. So, let's begin without further ado, right? Let's begin. Yes. Hold on. What did I do? Okay, great. Like 1 second I had my notes, and next second I didn't have my notes. Well, here we are. Okay, as I said, everyone, good day, good evening. Thank you for joining me tonight. I am Natasha Tomlinson, your Arizona realtor and advocate for homeowners who are struggling or having challenges with regards to real estate. Tonight's webinar is called Real Options, Real Relief, because that's really what we're discussing here tonight. And the goal is for you to walk away tonight with real knowledge, real solutions, and at the end of the day, real hope. So, without further ado, if you're here, you may be facing some kind of hardship, some sort of challenge, like a job loss, health issue, divorce, or debt that's making it hard for you to keep up with your mortgage. Let's just make sure that yes. Okay, let's make sure we have the screens. You guys can see the screen. Fantastic. Okay. And let me just say that you're not alone. You're not alone in this, and you are not stuck. Tonight, I'll walk you through what's happening in the greater Phoenix metro area in our real estate market. We'll talk about the truth about foreclosures and the options you have to protect your home and protect your dignity, right? So let's take the fear out of this conversation. Foreclosure is not the only outcome. Let's keep that in mind. You have options. And you'll hear me say that a few times tonight because I want that to sink in. If nothing else, I want to make sure that sinks in. So let's start with the news that we've heard recently. The Federal Reserve made its first cut to the Fed funds rate in 2025. So they reduced it by 0.25%. And we'll see what other cuts happen for the rest of this year, if any, right? Some think that there may be 2 more cuts, but really it's just everyone's opinion at this point in time. There's no factual basis for that. There's a number of things that need to happen before they decide whether to keep interest rate, the Fed funds rate as it is, or whether changes need to be made. And those wild cards would be inflation and tariffs, to name a few. Right now, we are also taking a look at the yield curve, the 10-year treasury, and other factors regarding the economy. Policymakers are watching how trade and consumer prices, how it all plays out. So here's a quick reminder, and I know I've said this in the past. I just want to make sure that we remember that the Fed funds rate is not the same thing as mortgage rates, okay? But when Fed policy shifts, mortgage rates often follow, right? So already we've seen mortgage rates come down compared to January of this year. They've come down about 1%. And what that means for anyone getting a new home loan now is if they had qualified in January and all things staying the same with their credit and their finances, if they were to qualify again today, their interest rate would be about 10% less, which is good news, right? And it spurs a little more interest. So like, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can afford this. It's not as out of reach as I once thought. So there's some relief for buyers and ultimately for sellers because it means more people can qualify. Let's talk about local because remember, real estate is hyper local. Now, the greater Phoenix metro area, it's big, it's diverse, right? Not all cities move in the same way. You have different demographics, different price points. You have areas that are closer to freeways and closer to major employment centers, and other areas where there's more competition with new home construction and things of that nature. So all that in mind, the sellers markets where we're seeing more activity, more buyer activity, and not as many homes for sale. Those markets right now would be Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, Anthem, Fountain Hills, Apache Junction, Avondale, Cave Creek, and Chandler. Now, these are areas where demand is steady, right? It's healthy, dare I say, right? And the sellers have a slight edge. Whereas the buyers markets where buyers tend to have more of an edge because there's more inventory. When I say inventory, I mean there are more homes for sale in those areas and not as many buyers looking right now in those areas. And that would be Sun City, which Sun City is pretty much a 55 plus community, and a lot of those folks are not here this time of year. So that would be one area. Gold Canyon, Laveen, Surprise, Queen Creek, Buckeye, Maricopa, Casa Grande, and Litchfield Park would be some buyers markets that we're seeing here where buyers have more negotiating power. Now, some of you may have heard something in the news about foreclosures, right? That comes up every now and again. And we're going to hear more about that in the coming months, I feel, my opinion. And there's reasons for that, right? So we're going to shift gears, and that's why many of you are listening now to pre-foreclosures and foreclosures. In July of this year, July 2025, foreclosure activity was up. And then in August, it declined a bit. September seems to be up a little bit. But let's keep things in perspective. Let's think back, way back to 2009, March 2009. Where were you? I was in real estate here in Phoenix. And we were at or near the peak of our housing crash. And we had over 10,000 pre-foreclosure notices in 1 month. Well, in August of 2025, we had less than 1,000. All right. So again, let's keep things in perspective. Now, if you are experiencing a financial challenge, it doesn't matter, right? It's a crash to you, right? It's a challenge to you. You're feeling the weight of it right now. And I understand that. So that's why we're walking through this tonight. Let's focus a little bit now on FHA loans. Delinquencies are up for FHA loans, a little over 10%, which is high. It's more than we'd like to see. That's a big deal for FHA borrowers, often buy with lower down payments, down payment assistance, and have tighter budgets, right? if you have an FHA loan and you are behind on payments, know that you are not alone in this. This is nothing to be ashamed of. Life happens, right? What matters now is knowing that you have options before foreclosure is on the table. So here are the main options if you fall behind on your FHA loan. There would be a forbearance or a loan modification. And this is where you work with your lender, your loan servicer, right? Mr. Cooper, there's a few different ones, just to name a few, to adjust payments or temporarily pause them depending on your situation. But don't wait until it's too late to ask. All right. You know where the directions that things are going. You know you're having a hardship. You know it's going to be difficult for you to make that next payment. Reach out to your loan servicer. Reach out to your lender. All right. Another option would be the FHA assumption. Now, if you have an FHA loan, especially if you started your loan in the last few years, chances are you have a pretty low rate. And that means that a qualified buyer can take over your low rate mortgage. Now, with rates still higher than what many FHA borrowers would like, right? If you had the opportunity to get a loan today at, let's just say, around 6.2%, or assume someone's mortgage at 3.9%, I mean, which rate would you like? Okay. So it could be more attractive and make your home easier to sell. Now, there's the opportunity for you, and another option would be for you to sell with equity. Many Arizona homeowners still have equity, even though they're behind on payments. Do not walk away from that money and let the bank take it. All right. Don't give it away to investors. Don't give it away. That equity is yours, right? Selling now could mean cash in your pocket. And that cash in the pocket, that could change a number of things in your life, right? And get you moving forward in a positive direction. Then there's also a short sale. If you owe more than your property is worth right now, say as an example, you owe $300,000, but the property is worth, $225,000. All right. A short sale might protect your credit more than a foreclosure. It's not the end of the world, and many people recover and buy again, right? So yes, pre-foreclosures in Phoenix are up this quarter, but again, keep it in perspective. This is nothing like March 2009. And still, if you are behind on payments, ignoring it won't make it go away. And homeowners who win are the ones who act early. Now, imagine some information here for veterans, for those holding a VA home loan, not only in Arizona, but throughout the United States. Some VA loan holders have mistakenly received foreclosure letters. And if this happened to you, please do not panic. Double check the details, call your loan servicer, reach out for help. All right. You serve this country. You deserve clarity and protection. And if you get a notice and it doesn't make sense, feel free to reach out. Reach out to your servicer, reach out to me. Right. There's no reason for you to face this alone. All right. Now, let's get to the heart of it. Let's talk about a few options that are available to you if you're behind on your mortgage. One option would be an instant cash offer. It's popular around for many people, regardless of whether they are behind on their payments or not. They're curious. Hey, what would someone pay for my home today? Right? Maybe it is time for me to make a move. Maybe not, but you're still curious, right? So if you need or want a fast cash offer and avoid showings and repairs and delays, then an instant cash offer, that option is available. And yes, I do work with investors who can provide that for you. Option 2 is the loan modification. Work directly with your lender to adjust the terms of your loan, possibly reduce the payments, or add those missed payments to the back of your mortgage. Option 3, right, is if you owe more than what today's fair market value is. If you owe more than what a willing, able, and qualified buyer would pay for your home today, right? In the example I gave before, you owe $300,000, but the home is worth $225,000. All right. What happens with that $75,000 difference, right? Well, two options really. One option would be that you come to the table with $75,000, and few people have $75,000 that they have in their back pocket that they're willing to just, put out there to move on. But if you do, God bless you. But another option would be the short sale, where the bank would be involved, your lender would be involved, and they would need to approve the final sale because ultimately they're agreeing to take less from what the home is worth. And then we have to talk about, the situation of the hardship or the scenario in your life that exists, that why you're in this situation, unable to make the payments. But again, we're just giving an overview tonight. That is one option available to you if you're behind on payments. A fourth option would be the dignity move, right? Sometimes the smartest play that you have is downsizing or selling to protect your equity. And we're calling that dignity moves because they put you in control instead of the bank. Remember, the sooner that you act, the more options that you have. Once the foreclosure process gets too far along, like the day of foreclosure, or the day after foreclosure, the doors start closing. All right. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Foreclosures here in Arizona, they move fairly quickly compared to other states. So I know, here in Arizona, a lot of us have family members in various places. It's common to have family in Illinois or California or back east, New York, New Jersey, or whatever. And their timelines are different than what we have here. So be sure that you get guidance from someone who is familiar with Arizona's timelines and statutes. All right. But let me share two quick stories with you. One would be where a couple, they called me up, they were behind on their mortgage. They're about 3 months behind, and they had an illness and a job loss. Okay. So, they had some money coming through the door, but it was significantly reduced from what they were used to. And you know how that works. Your income is less, but your bills stay the same, right? So together, we contacted their lender because they had a lot of fear around it. And I get that, you're not exactly sure what this person is going to say. What if they say no? What am I going to do there? And you start to have a lot of fear around the situation. And but it was important to make contact with this servicer and let them know what was happening, because that's the only way they're going to know is if you tell them. All right. So anyway, we contacted the servicer. They provided them the updated information, their financials, so they can see, hey, look, they have these expenses. They don't have as much income. Their income is reduced, and here's why. All right. And they were able to get a loan modification. All right. And they are still in their home today. Another situation, the homeowner chose to do a short sale. All right. They owed more on their property than what today's market value was. All right. And I'm not going to say it was easy. It's not necessarily an easy thing, but we got it done, and they walked away debt free and were able to purchase again later. Both families made a decision to take control And that ultimately is the key. Again, life happens, right? And I'm just giving examples. Divorce, debt, health concerns, job loss, or a reduction in pay, or reduction in hours. Any number of things happens in our lives, but foreclosure does not have to be the end of your story. So let's talk a little bit. We talked about your options. We talked about loan modifications, allowing you to stay in the home, or forbearance, allowing you to stay in the home. We talked about instant cash offers to see if that may be an option for you, depending on what you owe on the home and time frames, conditions, and all that sort of business. We talked a little bit about short sales, right? That's when you're upside down, or you owe more than the property is worth today. Then you would look into a short sale, see if that is the proper option for you. And then we also talked a little bit about dignity moves, meaning you have equity, but you just decide that staying in this home is not the best move for you and your loved ones, okay? And so you're making a dignity move. You're making a decision at that point to move on, take your equity, maybe pay off some debt, or put it away for a rainy day, or whatever the case may be, but to take this burden off your back, take this monkey off your back, all right? Now, if you have received a notice of trustee sale, how long do you have before foreclosure actually happens, right? How long do I have before I have to leave, right? That's the most common question. First, I ask you to take a deep breath, all right? This process does not happen overnight. However, in Arizona, foreclosures are typically handled outside of the court system through what's called a non-judicial foreclosure process. Excuse me. And that's why it moves a little faster than some other states. So here's the basic timeline. Right? You have the notice of trustee sale. It's filed and recorded. And once you're about 90 days delinquent, all right? So 90 days is about 3 months delinquent. On that 91st day, the lender's attorney can record a notice of trustee sale with the county where the property is located in. You will get a copy of the notice of trustee sale in the mail, and it will get posted on your property, and it'll be published for a matter of public record. So if you are not occupying the property, you have a tenant, whatever is taking place, you're behind on payments, you get a notice in the mail, and that occupant gets a notice on their door. So they are also notified of what is happening. Okay. The notice, it must give you at least 90 days warning before the actual auction date takes place. Now, during that 90-day window, it is crucial. I mean, here we are, we're at September 24th, 2025. Think about how quickly this year has gone by, right? A lot has happened this year. But let's think about how quickly this time has passed. So that 90-day window can move fairly quickly. And this is your opportunity to take action before the auction date. Options, like we talked about before, maybe making the loan current if you have the ability to do so, or doing a loan modification, or selling the property, arranging for a short sale, negotiating alternatives with your lender are all choices for you. The earlier you act, the more choices you have available to you. Now, the actual trustee sale, the auction date. On that scheduled date, the trustee will sell the property to the highest bidder, either on the courthouse steps or at a designated location. And that location will be on the notice of trustee sale. The winning bidder pays for the property, and ownership is transferred. So after the auction, unlike some states in Arizona, there is no redemption period after the auction. And that means that once your property is sold, the foreclosure is final. The new owner can begin the eviction proceedings if you're still living in the home. So, from the day you get that notice of trustee sale, you usually have about 90 days until the auction. And here's the reality, all right? Some people, they freeze, right? We as humans, we tend to have a fight or flight response, okay? We either hope things are working out and we're just kind of laying back, hoping, wishing, praying that something changes, but we need to make that change, right? You as the homeowner needs to make that change. And the ones who win in these situations are the ones who act and act early. You have more negotiating power before that auction clock ticks down. So again, in March of 2009, Arizona had over 10,000 pre-foreclosure notices in a single month, right? Compare that to today, where we had less than 1,000 in August of 2025. That means lenders, they're handling fewer cases, right? And you may have more room to negotiate if you decide to take action. And bottom line, if you received a notice of trustee sale in Arizona, you do not have to go through foreclosure. You have time, but your window is short. 90 days goes by pretty quickly. So use those 90 days wisely. Whether you're exploring a loan modification or you're selling your home or you're looking at other creative options. Now, if this is happening to you, if it's happening to someone you know, don't wait until that auction date is right around the corner, all right? I've said it a few times and there's a reason for it. It's important. Let's talk about your options now so you can take control before the bank decides for you, right? I'll be sure to include my link for the free, no obligation chat, a one-on-one consultation with me to give you clarity and to develop a plan, right? So I'll be sure to do that for you here before we end this evening. Do not wait until the bank decides for you. So I know this could be stressful. It's stressful when bills stack up and you're wondering, how on earth am I going to take care of this? This is a stressful situation. The market may feel uncertain to you, and you're not sure what move to make for you and your loved ones. You are not powerless. The worst thing you can do is ignore the problem. The best thing you can do is to get educated and to act before the foreclosure takes away your options. If you're a homeowner in the Phoenix metro area, whether you're behind on your mortgage, you're going through a divorce, you're dealing with probate, or just trying to figure out what your next move is, let's talk. I'll help you understand your numbers, your timeline, and your options. So feel free to visit the link that I'll put in the chat or call me directly to discuss what's happening, right? And don't forget to subscribe for more updates. Every week, I'll break down Arizona real estate so you can make informed decisions. Remember, it's your home, your equity, and your future. Do not leave it to chance. Well, again, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. Remember, being behind on payments does not mean you're defeated. You have options and you deserve to explore them with truth and dignity. I am Natasha Tomlinson, your Arizona realtor and homeowner advocate. Let's protect your equity, your home, and ultimately your peace of mind. So let's see. What questions do we have here? Oh. Yes. Okay. How much time do I really have once I miss the mortgage payment in Arizona? Okay. Remember, we're talking about Arizona, and foreclosure isn't immediate. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the timelines, right? So you missed your first payment. Okay. Second payment, third payment. And when you're 91 days late, that is when the lender's attorney can send out the notice for the trustee sale at that point. Okay. And then you have at least 90 days from that point, right? And that information, if you're behind 3 months, you get a letter in the mail, you have a notice posted, the auction date will be posted, will be in that letter, and where the auction is being held will be in that letter as well. Okay. All right. Let's see. I have an FHA loan. Does that make my situation different? Well, okay. So during the pandemic and after the pandemic, a lot of homeowners contacted their lender and said, "Hey, I can't make this payment. I'm looking for relief." Okay. A lot of those programs are ending. The one for FHA loans is ending this month. Okay. So that's part of the reason why I'm saying be sure to contact your servicer. Okay. We are seeing higher delinquency rates with FHA borrowers. However, someone can assume your loan, and you can save your equity and your credit and all that way. Okay. So that's the difference, FHA versus conventional. Conventional loans are not assumable. Okay. So we have to can do things a little differently there. But FHA loans can be assumed. VA loans can be assumed. And the VA loan, you do not have to be a veteran to assume a VA loan, right? And you do not have to live there. An investor can assume a VA loan. Okay. All right. So okay, what if I give the keys back and they just foreclose whatever? Will it destroy my credit forever? All right. Now, foreclosure is damaging. Okay. It's very damaging to your credit. And these days, we use credit for a lot of things. To find your next place to live, they're going to run a credit and background check. For some jobs, they're running credits and background checks. Okay. So it can be damaging, and people can disqualify you based on that. It's not the end, but it does make it harder. And then when you go to sign up for anything, your insurance rates, jobs, other credit cards, everything will cost more, right? Now, during our consultation, we explained the difference between foreclosure, short sale, and loan workout options. So we'll go over all of that for you in the consultation. And no, it doesn't destroy it forever. Okay. But you're significantly impacted for like 7 years. Okay. So 5 to 7 years, depending on, what else is going on with your finances. And so that's a good amount of time. Let's see. Okay. With that short sale thing, will I owe money afterward? Great question. Okay. And I hate to tell you this, but it depends. And here's why. Arizona has laws around deficiency judgments. Okay. And we'll clarify what happens and when debt forgiveness applies. Okay. So there'll be questions like, is this your home? Do you live there? Is this your primary residence, or is it, investment property? What is it? Is it a house, a condo, a townhome, a duplex, or is it a fourplex or a triplex, right? That we're talking about. These things matter with the deficiency judgment. Also, did you do a cash out refi? Would be another question that we would ask. All of these questions matter when we're looking at that deficiency judgment on a short sale. Okay, that deficiency that exists on a short sale, and whether the bank would look for you to pay that amount. And we'll talk about all that during the consultation. Okay. Here we go. All right. Any other questions, guys? I see this one here. Let's see. My parents passed away. I inherited their Arizona home in Levine. Okay. And it has a mortgage. Okay. What can you do? All right. So, I would ask you if there was a trust or there was a will. And we would have a number of questions for you during that consultation. Probate and inherited homes, they often come with unpaid mortgages. You're not alone in that. Okay. So we'll discuss the options for keeping the home or selling the home without losing any value. Okay. So I don't know what stage you're in there. If there was a will, if there's a trust, if you're the executor of the estate here, if you're the responsible party moving forward. There's a number of questions that I have for you in that situation. So let's schedule some time to talk about it and see what your next steps would be. I have some documents and timelines I can share with you. Great question. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm a veteran. What options do I have if I can't pay? Okay, so veteran VA home loans can be assumed. They can be assumed by anyone, by a civilian, okay, or by a veteran. So know that, by someone who plans to live there or by an investor, right? So that's unique because FHA loans are not that way, but VA loans are. So it's possible to do an assumption. We really have to talk about if you have an auction date, when that auction date is. Look at the value of your home compared to what you owe. Look at all those things. Ask you a few other questions about your situation and how we can best help you. So feel free to schedule that time to chat. Again, 15 minutes, costs nothing to talk to me, right? We jump on a call, we review things together. You have an idea of what your options are from there, and you decide what you want to do, right? The ball is in your court, right, at this stage of the game. So thank you very much for your question. Let's see, any other questions? No? All right. Well, let's be sure to put this link in here that I keep mentioning. Bam. Bam. Let's put that link in the chat there. So yes, no, maybe. Okay, great. There we are. Great. And I'll be sure to put it in the description as well. So again, I want to say thank you for joining here tonight. I appreciate your time. I know that you could have been anywhere, and I appreciate you chiming in to listen here. If you have any questions regarding Arizona real estate, by all means, feel free to connect. All right. Have a wonderful evening and stay blessed.